here today, right? Boom! And welcome to Today, brought to you by Boss Shot Shells. Check them out at bossshotshells.com, the official shells of the Big Honker Lodge and Stanfield Hayden Outfitters. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world-famous Andy Shaver.
Yes, sir. Happy to be here. Dove season will be here before you know it. All hunting season will be here before you know it, really. So get ahead of the curve. bossshotshells.com. Today is my day. Now, July the 7th. A couple of things happened. So we were a very young nation in 1776. Brand new, some would say.
I would say it's pretty close as a nation, about as infant as you could get.
21 years later, we impeach our first U.S. senator. So we had a good run.
20 years later?
21.
Who was it?
1797. A man by the name of William Blount of Tennessee.
William Blount of Tennessee was the first one.
He was. House of Representatives exercises its constitutional power of impeachment and votes to charge Senator William Blount of Tennessee with high misdemeanor, entirely inconsistent with his political duty and trust as a senator. In 1790, President George Washington appointed Blount, who had fought in the American Revolution, as governor of the territory of the South, territory south of the River Ohio, now known as Tennessee. So it wasn't Tennessee yet. Although he was a successful governor, personal financial problems led him to enter into a conspiracy with British officials to enlist frontiersmen and Cherokee Indians to assist the British in conquering parts of Spanish Florida and Louisiana. Before the conspiracy was uncovered, Blount presided over the Tennessee Constitutional Convention and in 1796 became the state's first U.S. senator. The plot was revealed in 1797, and on July 7th, the House of Representatives voted to impeach Blount. The next day, the Senate voted by a two-thirds majority to expel him from its ranks. On December 17th, 1798, the Senate exercised its sole power to try all impeachments as granted by the Constitution and initiated a Senate trial against Blount. As Vice President of the United States, Thomas Jefferson was president over the Senate and thus presided over the impeachment trial proceedings. After 2 months, Jefferson and the Senate decided to dismiss the charges. So, kind of got away scot-free. One other thing in history. Today is the day that Heinrich Himmler, decided he was going to start medical experiments on Auschwitz prisoners.
Yeah, he was a piece of shit.
So I looked up some of what he did because this sort of thing fascinates me, how cruel people can be. Freezing and hypothermia experiments was one of the things. They wanted to determine how long German pilots could survive in cold water and how best to treat them. So victims were immersed in ice water and left outside naked in freezing cold conditions. Many died and suffered permanent damages. High altitude experiments to simulate conditions pilots may experience at high altitudes. Victims were placed in low pressure chambers to simulate altitudes of up to 68,000 feet. Many died of lack of oxygen, air embolisms, and ruptured lungs. Malaria and infectious disease testing. One I don't know, sulfonamide experiments. I don't know. And then a lot of sterilization procedures, including radiation, surgery without anesthesia, and chemical injections often left victims mutilated or dead.
Can you imagine going through that just because of the religion you are? I thought about that the other day. Mm-hmm. I mean, I was reading about the Jews, and they would just, in these neighborhoods, they made them wear a sign, or they had to have something that would designate them as Jewish, so everyone would know about it.
Right.
And to think about that, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the camel guys, but I can't imagine just rounding up and just
doing that to him,
baking a bunch of them in an oven. It just blows my mind. I guess that's a term I use too much. It's just unfathomable that we lived in a place, and that was 100 years ago. Less than 100 years
80.
ago. Yeah,
It's 80, one old person away.
80 years ago, we had a group of people rounded up because of their religion and just killed.
Yep.
Now the Muslims are doing that to the Christians a lot in a lot of places, but not at this kind of at this level.
Yep. It's a crazy time in history. It really is dark time in history. But that is what people are capable of. Okay, guy that was born today. We're gonna test your knowledge.
Okay. I'm ready.
Test your baseball knowledge.
Okay.
He is the oldest rookie ever to play in the MLB. He was 42 when he was a rookie.
Dan Wheeler. Played for Tampa Bay.
No, he played for the Cleveland Indians.
Long time ago or recently?
Long time ago.
Oh, I don't have a clue then.
Satchel Paige.
Oh, that makes sense, but he played in the Negro League forever.
Played in the Negro League. This is
Debatably the greatest pitcher ever.
This is according to Wikipedia. Negro League is in this, so I don't know of another thing to say.
What do you mean?
His career spanned 5 decades.
Saying Negro League?
The Negro
That's
League.
not bad.
Well, you know.
They have a Negro League baseball museum. It's like getting mad at someone saying, let's go eat Mexican food, and they got a Taco Bell. What is it? It's a Mexican fast food joint.
Anyway,
we're not woke in that.
His
so
career,
you're good.
his career spanned 5 decades and culminated with his introduction into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. He was a right-handed pitcher. Page first played for the semi-professional Mobile Tigers from 1924 to 1926. He began his professional baseball career in 1926 with the Chattanooga Black Lookouts of the Negro South League and became one of the most famous and successful players from the Negroes League. On town tours across the United States, Page would sometimes have his infielders sit down behind him and then routinely strike out the side.
Oh, he was a stud.
Y'all sit down, I got it.
I think he was a big, tall man, too. I think he was like 6'4", 6'5", 200 pounds, wiry. Built like Jim Kern.
I don't see his physical. I
think he was a real big man, but he was one hellacious pitcher, though.
I'll take your word for it. And then, like I said, at the age of 42 in 1948, Page made his debut for the Cleveland Indians. To this day, this makes him the oldest debutant in the National League or American League. Additionally, Page was 59 years old when he played his last major league game. 59 years old. Can you imagine? Page was the first black pitcher to play in the American League and was the 7th black player to play in the Major League Baseball. Also in 1948, Page became the first player who had played in the Negro League to pitch in the World Series. The Indians won the series that year. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, guy that died today. Somebody that I don't really know a whole lot. I didn't know a whole lot about. I'd heard the name. He was a famous gangster in...
I'm listening.
New York City. I think the Bronx, to be more specific.
Okay. Give me another hint.
Never mind.
What? Give me a hint.
It's Harlem.
Okay.
So there's your hint.
He's a black guy.
He is a black guy.
It's going to be either the guy off that show, King of Harlem's, that I love, that show.
I'm not seeing Kings of Harlem, so I don't know.
Who's the Godfather of Harlem? Is a great show.
Okay, to who's the actor? Because I saw the actor.
The guy
is it the guy with the gouch eye?
Yeah, that plays. He's a great actor. He was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Forrest Whitaker.
Yes,
great actor.
Bumpy Johnson.
Yeah, that's a great series right there.
Oh, I thought it was a movie.
No, it's a series. It's on Prime.
Oh, okay.
It's a very good series. I think
how many episodes?
I think it's in season 4. They're still doing them.
Oh,
it's
wow.
good. But they touch on a lot of stuff. They touch on LBJ, JFK, Malcolm X, everything that deal with Harlem, the blacks and the Guineas, which is the Italians fighting all the time. Right. It's a very, very good. It's my kind of show. I really enjoy it.
Ellsworth Raymond Bumpy Johnson was born on Halloween 1905 and he died July 7th, 1968. He was born.
He's getting close to dying on that show then because they're about 1966.
Oh, are they? Well, you got a couple more years. Milk it for all it's worth, Forrest. He was born in can't say that word, Charleston, South Carolina, on Halloween night, to Margaret, can't pronounce it, Moultrie and William Johnson. When he was 10 years old, his older brother Willie was accused of killing a white man. Afraid of a possible lynch mob, his parents mortgaged their tiny home to raise enough money to send Willie up north to live with relatives. Johnson's nickname Bumpy is derived. He had a little bump on the back of his head, so they called him Bumpy. As Johnson grew older, his parents worried about his short temper towards white people, and in 1919, he was sent to live with his older sister Mabel in Harlem. Johnson dropped out of high school and began working casual jobs. Gangster William Hewitt noticed Johnson, who began working for him and his life of crime. So he got his start. He was an enforcer for numbers. I guess that's a game that they play.
That's what the Cubans rung over.
The bolito.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
For Madame Stephanie St. Clair. And in the 1930s, he quickly climbed the ranks to become her most trusted soldier. St. Clair incited a war with her rival, Jewish mob boss Dutch Schultz, for control of Harlem's racket. The war resulted in more than 40 murders and several kidnappings and ended with St. Clair's arrest and imprisonment. Johnson, however, struck a deal with the mafia after Schultz's 1935 murder, through which he quickly built up his own criminal organization in Harlem. And then he started dealing heroin.
It was his big money game.
Yeah, so in 1952...
The doogie is what they called it.
Yeah. The doogie?
They called it the doogie. Who's got the doogie?
Oh. 1952, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison for conspiracy related to slinging heroin. 2 years later, Jet magazine reported in its crime section that Johnson began his sentence after losing an appeal. He served the majority of that sentence on Alcatraz. So him and Al Capone were there. He was inmate number 1117, and he was released in 1963 on parole. So what'd they do during that show that time that he's in Alcatraz? They just got Forrest Whitaker sitting in Alcatraz for a whole season?
The show is based on him getting out of Alcatraz.
Oh.
Or getting out of prison and going back on the streets, basically. And just running the whole thing.
Yeah. Johnson was arrested more than 40 times and served 2 prison terms for narcotic-related charges. In December 1965, Johnson staged a sit-down strike in a police station by refusing to leave as a protest against continued police surveillance of black neighborhoods. He was charged with refusal to leave a police station, but was acquitted by the judge. And then on July 7th, 1968, he dies of a heart attack. He was under federal indictment for drug conspiracy. He was at the Wells restaurant in Harlem shortly before 2 a.m. Waitress had just served him black coffee, a chicken thigh, and hominy grits, and he fell over dead. Just like that.
The show, I'm sure, they overdo a lot of things. And so there was a lot of things that he was involved with in the TV series. Mm-hmm. His wife is pretty straight laced. Mm-hmm. Now she knows what he does and stuff, right? But she does a lot of good to the community, gives back. She's kind of an upper crust type lady in Harlem.
Mame Hatcher is her name. They were married after 6 months after meeting, after their first introduction. They had 2 kids together. They stayed together his whole time. She died in 2009. What were the kids' names? Ruthie and Elise.
That's
Elise?
the name. That's the names from the show. Elise had in the show. Elise is an older daughter, and she got on the streets and she got strung out on heroin.
Right.
And he goes and gets her, and she gets.
He had Elise from another relationship.
Yeah, and she worked for Malcolm X and was in on become a Muslim. It's a good series, but it's got a lot of history related stuff. How true it all is, I don't know.
Right.
But it's a very good series. But yeah, Bumpy Johnson. And Forrest Whitaker is such a good actor.
Yeah, he is. Yep. So anyway, that's all I got. That is July 7th. Hope that everybody's got their fingers and toes and eyeballs from the 4th of July. Yes.
On July 4th, you made a comment.
I did.
About this.
Somebody clipped all 10 fingernails for the last time.
And then watching your sons shoot fireworks the other night.
Yeah.
I thought about that. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen to anybody. Yeah.
Especially your youngest. He wants to throw everything.
Blink of an eye. So,
all right.
Anyway.
Thank y'all for listening to us. God bless y'all. Peace.
Have a great week. Whoa, there it is.